Hello, this is Mr. Stein, and in this video, we are going to go through example problems 3 and 4 for section 5.7, interpreting graphs of linear functions. After you're done this section, you should be able to interpret the intercepts of a graph based on a real-life situation, determine the rate of change of a graph or slope and relate it to a situation, and graph a linear function that is in y equals mx plus b form. Let's take a look at example 3. Which graph has a rate of change of -5 and a vertical intercept of 100? Justify your answer. Well, let's start off. Let's look at our vertical intercept of 100. This graph here has a vertical intercept of 100. This graph here has a vertical intercept of 100. That doesn't really help. Now let's take a look at this rate of change of -5. That means a slope of -5. So let's compute the slope for this graph. Slope is equal to rise over the run. Slope is equal to, well, you have to look at the scale. It goes from this point, it drops down 100, then goes over 20. So it drops down 100 over 20. Now we can divide that out and we get a slope is equal to -5. So it's obviously this graph right here that has a slope of -5. Let's take a look at the slope of the other graph. Slope is equal to its rise over its run. Slope is equal to, now we start here and we go up 50 over 10. So I went up 50 over 10, so that'll also have a slope of 5, but this has a positive slope, not a negative slope. A negative slope descends as you look from left to right. A positive slope ascends as you look from left to right. So it's actually pretty easy to determine which one had -5. This one over here had no chance of being a -5. Now, just for a little bit extra, let's write down the equations that would represent these lines. So let's write down the equation that represents this line, y equals mx plus b form. We're going to use our slope and our intercept. So y equals mx plus b. M being -5, y equals -5x, and b is 100 plus 100. Now let's take a look at this one. Again, to write our equation, we are going to use the intercept and the slope. So y equals mx plus b, y equals plus 5x. Plus 100. That is how you write the equation of a line in y equals mx plus b form. All right, let's take a look at example number 4. The graph shows the total cost for a house call by an electrician for up to 6 hours of work. An electrician charges $190 to complete a job. For how many hours did she work? Well, we can get an estimate from the graph. So $190. So we have to figure out where on the graph $190 is. This is 120. This is 240. Well, 120 and 240 are 80 apart. So right here, this is about, well, it's not about, this is exactly 180. So 190 would be like a little bit above this. And if we follow the graph over, we get about here. So this is just more than 3 point something. Say 3.3 hours. Doesn't look like quite 3.5, but it's about 3.3 hours. So our estimate based on the graph is 3.3. But we want a more exact answer given a formula. So to do that, let's take a look. We're going to have to figure out the formula. So right here, this is our b value. our b is equal to 60. Now we have to figure out the slope of this line. The slope is equal to the rise over the run. So our rise goes from here to here. Sorry, we're going to this point, so our rise goes from here to here, from 60 to 180. So it's equal to 60 to 180 is 120. So it's a rise of 120. And it's a run of 3. And our rise is measured in dollars. It's $120 for every 3 hours. So that's going to give us $40 per hour. That is her hourly rate. She's going to charge you $60 just to come out to your place, and then she's going to charge another $40 per hour on top of that. Now, to give us an equation, y equals mx plus b. Now, we don't use y and x here because if we look, we have c instead of y and t instead of x. So this becomes c is equal to mt plus b. Then we do c is equal to $40 per hour times the amount of time she's there plus her $60 call-out charge. Okay, now we know that she's charging $190, so we need to figure out t. So c is going to equal to $190. So we write $190 is equal to 40 times time plus 60. So we subtract both sides by 60 to get 130 is equal to 40 t. Divide both sides by 40 to get t is equal to 13 over 4. And we like time to be in some type of a decimal number. So you divide 13 divided by 4. Time is equal to 3.25 hours. So for $190 cost, she's going to work for 3.25 hours. Now, just before I go, I'd like to do one last thing. I'd like to take this guy here, which is two variable notation, and turn it into function notation. Function notation would be the cost based on time is equal to 40t plus 60. That's function notation right there. Two variable notation. Just a little reminder of how to do that. All right, so I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below or ask